Today we're going to talk about 5 amazing athletes. What makes these 5 individuals so amazing is not only did they get into the Olympics, but they did so while they were disabled. Go away, fly. Stick around to the end and I've got 2 bonus individuals to talk about. First up is Pál Szekeres from Hungary, often considered to be the most influential disabled athlete in Hungary. Pál Szekeres made it to the Olympics in 1988 for fencing, and he earned a bronze medal. A couple years later, in 1991, he was involved in an accident with a bus and has been in a wheelchair ever since. However, he wasn't going to let this stop him. He practiced fencing in that wheelchair, and by 1992, he was competing in the Paralympics. His first year in the '96 Atlanta Games, he came home with 2 golds. First for the foil individual and second for the saber individual. In 2000, he again made it into the Paralympics where he earned a bronze in the foil individual. He earned 2 more bronzes in Athens, 1 for the saber individual, and then in Beijing in '08, he earned another for the foil individual. Pál Szekeres was the first athlete to earn a medal in both the Paralympics and the Olympics. Back in Hungary, he worked as the Deputy State Secretary, Minister of Children, Youth, and Sports. And he worked to bring equal opportunity to those with disabilities in sports. Number 2, we have Neroli Fairhall from New Zealand. When she was young, Neroli was a very active individual. Unfortunately, in 1969, she was in a motorcycle accident and was paralyzed. By 1972, she was competing in the Paralympics in track and field. By 1980, she was working on archery as well as track and field, and she made it onto the 1980 Olympic team. Unfortunately, this year it was in Moscow, and there was an American-led boycott of the games. So while she did not go to the Olympics that year, she did go to the Paralympics, where she won gold in archery. She also competed in those track and field events. Realizing she was better at archery, she stopped track and field at this point and focused solely on archery. In 1983, she was awarded the Order of the British Empire for her service to archery and disability. The Order of the British Empire is an award for chivalry first given by King George V in 1917. In 1984, she was once again invited to the Olympics, and this time she went. This made her the first Olympian to compete in both the Olympics and the Paralympics. She again competed in the Paralympics, both in '88 and then again a few years later in 2000. On June 11, 2006, she passed on. Her memory lives on and should live on. She was an amazing athlete and a great member to have in the athletic community. Number 3, Paola Fantato from Italy. At the age of 8, Paola was stricken with polio. Like so many others that were stricken with polio, she has been in a wheelchair ever since. The polio vaccine did exist at the time, but unfortunately, it wasn't in wide circulation, so Paola did not have it. In her 20s, Fantato picked up the bow and began competing in archery. From '88 to '04, she won 5 golds, 1 silver, and 2 bronzes in the Paralympics. In 1996, she also got to compete in the Olympics in Atlanta. She placed 54th in the women's individual event. She has the honor of being the first person to compete in both the Paralympics and the Olympics in the same year. She was also an inaugural member into the Italian Sports Walk of Fame in Rome. Number 4, Zahra Nemati from Iran. Zahra Nemati was a black belt in Taekwondo on her way to qualifying for the Olympics when she was in an accident and was paralyzed in the legs. Instead of giving up, she took up archery. 6 months later, she placed third in the Iranian National Championships. In 2012, she went on to the Paralympics and became the first woman from Iran to earn a gold in either the Paralympics or the Olympics. In 2016, she earned a spot on both the Paralympics and the Olympic team. This made her the first archer to compete in both the Paralympics and the Olympics since 1996, when Paola Fantato from Italy did the same thing. She was also the flag bearer for both the Olympics and the Paralympics that year. She again competed in the 2020 Paralympics in Tokyo. In the Asian Para Games, she has won 3 gold and 1 bronze. And in the World Para Archery Championship, she has won 1 gold and 1 bronze. Zahra is still competing. What comes next for you, Zahra? Number 5, Natalie Dutoit from South Africa. Natalie Dutoit is a competitive swimmer from South Africa who is competing in the Commonwealth Games by the age of 14. At the age of 17, she was on her way back to school from swimming practice when she was hit by a car and lost her leg. Just 3 months later, she was not able to walk yet, but she could swim, and she was back in the water practicing for the Commonwealth Games. In 2002, she won gold in the multi-disability 50-meter freestyle as well as the 100-meter multi-disability freestyle. She also competed against able-bodied peers in the 800-meter freestyle. In 2004, she narrowly missed getting into the Olympics, but did get into the Paralympics, where she won 1 silver and 5 golds. In 2008, she became just the 3rd amputee to compete in the Olympics. In that year, she was the flag bearer for both the Olympics and the Paralympics, and she came in 16th in her Olympic event of the 10K marathon swim. Nothing will stop Natalie Dutoit from swimming her heart out. What's going to stop you? If you've made it this far, this means that you have really enjoyed this video, so go ahead and give me that thumbs up. The first 5 of these athletes made it into both the Olympics and the Paralympics. These bonus athletes are amazing, but did not meet both of those criteria. And our first bonus goes to Brian McKeever from Canada. Brian McKeever is a Canadian cross-country skier. He was skiing by the age of 3, he was competing by the age of 13, and going blind by the time he was 19. Brian McKeever has a rare genetic disease called Stargardt's, which causes a fatty buildup on the macula, causing him to lose his sharp and central vision. Despite this, he won 20 medals in the Paralympics, 16 of which were gold. He also won 23 medals in the World Championships, 19 of which are gold. He was the first Canadian to be named to both the Paralympic and Olympic teams in the same year. Unfortunately, he was replaced at the last minute, so did not actually get to compete in the Olympics. He retired after the Beijing 2022 Games and is now coaching. He said, "We need a hell of a lot more athletes than we've got now. I only hope more disabled people get involved in sport. Don't let anything stop you from achieving your dream." And our second bonus, Jim Abbott from the United States of America. Jim Abbott was born without a right hand, but he would not let that slow him down. He wanted to play baseball, and he was going to play baseball. He worked so hard to be able to play the sport of his choice. His parents wanted him to play soccer because soccer did not require the use of your hands, but he refused. Baseball was his game. He had to work hard and practice more than any other player. He has been quoted as saying, "I truly believe that difficult times and disappointments can push us to find abilities and strengths we would not know existed without the experience of struggle. Struggles are what make us who we are. My struggles make me who I am. Your struggles make you who you are." and Jim Abbott's struggles pushed him to be the best baseball player he could be. In 1988, his first year in the league, he was invited to pitch for the Olympic demonstration team, earning an unofficial gold medal in the Olympics. In 2007, he was inducted into the College Baseball Hall of Fame. And in 2012, he published his autobiography, Imperfect and Improbable Life. Now, as a motivational speaker, he works hard to motivate you to be the best you can be. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out this one about Arunima Sinha, another amazing athlete that after she lost her leg, summited Mount Everest.